the board this year, and to my right is fellow Commissioner Jeff Benton. Commissioner Lewis is unable to attend this afternoon, and what we're doing today is simply a viewing, and that's a little different than when we go out in the field. We're going to have soil and water. I believe Brett is going to take us and kind of walk us through it, but let me go over kind of some guidelines, how this will work, because I know this will be new for many of you. So welcome to the viewing for the consideration of the Evans number 354 Watershed Drainage Improvement Petition. Again, I've already introduced myself and Commissioner Benton. We're joined here today with representatives from the County Engineer's Office and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts to familiarize ourselves with this area. And that's the purpose, just so we as commissioners have an understanding of what we're going to be observing and having a conversation about at the first hearing, I believe in October. No testimony or decisions are made here today. This is a way for the board to become familiar with the area and for you to show us any drainage concerns you may have in this area. So how we're going to handle that is Brett will walk through and give us an aerial view of everything. And then I will ask you if you have anything you want to add or want us to go back and take a look at, to point out things that we need to be aware of before we have that first hearing. The first hearing of the petition is scheduled for Thursday, October 28th at 10 o'clock a.m. in this building right here. At the hearing, we will hear a report from the engineer's office on the petition, and that is also the time that you will be able to give testimony for or against the petition. And now I'm going to turn this over to Brett Bacon with Soil and Water. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. Just point out a couple things on the map that everyone should have a copy of, and if not, there's copies out in the outside the front door there. First of all, the two shaded parcels would represent the parcels that have currently signed the petition requesting the improvement. Parcel number 55 is the original signatory to the petition and the one that filed the petition. Parcel number 47 has submitted an amendment to the petition per section 6131 of the revised code, and I believe your board accepted that amendment this morning. The black and gold dashed line, I will also point out, represents the approximate flight path of the drone video that we are going to show. It is not necessarily a center line of the project. It is flying over what we believe to be the prevailing low ground based on county topographic information and historic tile records. But that is not a surveyed line. That is just merely a representation of where the drone is flying so that you have a frame of reference. And then the yellow line representing the Evans number 354 preliminary watershed, that is the preliminary or draft watershed boundary as we have determined it. That line is set by using an automated software and some data that we get from the state of Ohio. It is not a surveyed or ground truth line. It is basically our best stab at it right now without proceeding to a survey and engineering phase. So the drone video that we're going to show is going to begin over parcel number 47. That will be the first parcel or piece of ground that you see. And then it's going to travel to the south, ending up at parcel 39. So.
Is everybody in a position they can see?
Okay. Let's see, so we need this to be...
We're crossing onto parcel 41. And then 24. Now we're cutting across the corner of 25 onto 55.
This is still 55?
Yes. And now we're turning on to 22. The driveway you see there is going back to 21, and then we quickly go on to 40. That would be Fancher Road that we're facing right now. And we're going to turn and just go parallel to Fancher. Culvert under Fancher Road. And it's going to be very hard to pick out just because of the trees and brush, but there's another drainage channel that comes in from the left side of the screen there, right there, kind of in the middle of the screen right now. We would not anticipate work going beyond that junction point and involving that drainage channel. You can stop it, Jen, that's far enough. Never mind, it stopped.
I have two questions. Question number one, when was the drone shot? When was
Middle of July.
Middle of July? And number two, the northern part was heavily wooded. Is there a ditch or ravine under those trees, or is it underground?
It would mostly be, I'll say, shallow surface drainage, just kind of a very low gradient swale that would run through that woods, even more of a sheet flow, without actually getting on site as to what the channel looks like right now. It would be hard for me to say, but the prevailing contour information is what we use to establish the flight path.
Okay. Commissioner Ed?
Yeah, what, I noticed it seems like it's a combination of ditch and underground tile.
Yeah, I would anticipate a very, I don't want to necessarily use the word traditional, but typical of what the board would usually consider, as far as there'll be some section of open channel, basically down near Fancher Road is where the open channel begins, and then working upstream from that, a combination of tile and crossable surface drain, be it either farmed or mowable, depending on the ground that's going through.
So the water flows north to south?
Correct.
And I didn't notice any blowouts. Did I just not see them, or are there some there?
Yeah, I believe there are some blowouts. There have been some repairs made by individual landowners, but the tile system is I'll say typical of a tile system of that age. It may have been repaired piecemeal, but there's been no comprehensive maintenance of the system.
Okay. That's all I got.
Typically, we're out in the field doing this, we gather together and we probably just ask you to, if you have anything you want to point out. If we have the ability, we'll back up to the area you want to point out. But again, we do not take testimony today. It's just simply you want to point out something that you want us to be aware of before the first hearing. So with that understanding, is there anybody who would like to come forward? You need to come forward so you can be heard on the speaker. So we wouldn't typically do it this way, but if we're going to,
Just to make you aware, on that section 21, I'm the trustee for a trust, and I just had to put a CAD, a common access drive in order to, Harlem Township was a requirement. So to do that, I had to come through you as commissioners and the Delaware County engineers. They approved it all, came out, I signed off everything. So 21, they took a look at it, and I was able to fix it through drainage and tile pipe and things like that.
so you're just pointing it out for our benefit.
So you know that work has been done and was approved by Delaware County engineers and you as commissioners, okay?
Anyone else who, again, just want to point out something that they think we should know, no testimony, but
Good afternoon. Maybe if Mr. Bacon could, if he knows the properties that have had drainage improved, whether it's the underground tile or the swale, if you could mention that so that they're aware. I think that's what this trustee was saying, is that her property had been improved already. I know my client's property had been improved.
definitely you'll have an opportunity for that at the first hearing, okay? Anyone else? Yes. You know, come forward just so everybody can hear you. Speaker. Come on. No, yeah, it's you, it's you.
I had a few pictures. I am the owner of 47, and I had a couple pictures of the area. I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing those.
I think that's probably okay. There's a line between that and testimony, but you're pointing out areas or things
I
we should
just
see.
had a
I believe
few-
that's okay.
Okay.
Do you have printed photos or just,
I got electronic HDMI. Can I plug into that to show, or is that?
Bring it over here, that doesn't work.
Normally you could.
Oh, okay. Well, I can do that real quick.
while they're doing that, is there anyone else who wants to point out something that they think will be benefit? You'll be next.
I believe I'm on lot 60 on there,
Excuse me?
lot 60 or number 60 on Evans Road.
Okay.
Okay, Don Hinkle. And I've called the county before in the past, at the end of Evans Road, if you're familiar with that area, which maybe you're not, but North County Line Road runs at the end of Evans. Evans is a dead-end road, right off of County Line. Well, if you come from, going north on County Line, past all these places that have water problems, there's where Evans comes off of County Line, there should be a tile underneath Evans to allow the water coming off of County Line, off of the road and off of the fields, to go on down to a stream that's north of County Line, or Evans, which is Robbins Road. There's a stream down there, but there's no even tile. So when you're showing that map, you're showing that those 3 new houses that are lots that are for sale, where they're building,
Okay.
that they drain somewhere else. Well, they don't. They drain the same way we drain, to the south, down a ditch.
Between now and the first hearing, that second hearing, come on up, Brett. Let Brett clear that up.
Yes, as I stated, the watershed would be considered draft at this point. Watershed perfection as part of survey engineering design would not be something that we would get into until after the first hearing, should the board approve the project at that point.
But if it's not in the watershed, then it wouldn't be affected.
Correct.
But how about the tile itself underneath Evans Road, shouldn't that be addressed as part of the water problem?
Evans Road is a township road, so that would be up to your township trustees to address that.
But isn't North County Line Road, or South County Line Road, isn't that Delaware County's responsibility?
Correct, but Evans Road you're talking a culvert under Evans Road, I believe.
Yeah.
Evans Road is a township road. That would be something the township would have to undertake.
But but doesn't the county have to take care of their water coming off of that road?
The county can only pay for improvements within the road right-of-way that they own.
That is, right there, they own, to Evans Road, they own the ditch.
Okay, you pointed out the
it's,
concern.
yeah, and it's, we would currently show that being out of the watershed, so it would not be a matter for this project.
Okay,
Even though it puts water on us.
well,
Again, that would be something we would look at if the commissioners approve the project at the first hearing. We have no authority to do survey or engineering design until post-first hearing. So that's not something we would even
The purpose of today is
address.
just for us to get some
Yeah.
familiarity with the area, okay? Do you have the photos?
Commissioners, I just want to show, I've got just a few
Yeah,
slides.
which lot were you?
47,
47.
47,
very north,
Yeah, the very north part.
okay.
highlighted blue.
So we can just walk through these. It's just showing, this is a good one, showing where the standing waters.
Again, you're just pointing out to us areas you want us to be aware of.
Yep, and this is just kind of the front of the property. Keep going down. Just showing that that was from one rainfall event this July, how much water is shed onto our land. Which I point out, the driveway is sinking into the earth, so we have to keep filling it back in. And the next one, go up just a bit. I had a couple shots that showed, go up a little bit, there's a slide with 4 pictures. It kind of showed how it gets all stagnant, smells like low tide, and the mosquitoes become unmanageable from that. This is a shot just of a tree that's been in standing water. You can see the water laying on it, the water line, and the moss growing up the trunk. And there's 2 more slides. This is actually the front part of that woods on 33. That was after that same rainfall in July. That's 16, 18-inch deep water for that whole wooded area, that little bump out. So I just wanted to show firsthand.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And again, the reason we allow these photos to be shown, if this drone had been on a different day, we would have seen that. So this just happened to be the day it was shown, so out of fairness, I thought it was appropriate to show that. But again, at some point that becomes testimony, so you'll need to come to the first hearing
Yes, sir.
and provide testimony to that, okay? Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benton. I represent the original petition owners, parcel 55 on the map, and please stop me if this veers into testimony, but I just wanted it to be on the record that there is a bit of a man-made fill and obstruction between parcel 22 and 55, and I won't go into the details of that, but I just wanted the
If we
commission.
backed up to that, would that be helpful in showing, or would it be difficult to see?
I think it would probably be a little difficult to see from the drone footage. There is a line of trees that borders the 2 parcels, but if we're able to get to it
Try to back up
quickly.
just in case, but go ahead.
Right there is between parcel 55 on the left and parcel 22 on the right. And there was a man-made obstruction between the 2 parcels. And that's all I'll say about the matter. And I understand that the first hearing is designed for testimony, but I'll leave that to the commissioner's information and benefit.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, come on up. Again, since we're pointing out things, we are asking the lot numbers. We don't need to give your names today because there's not testimony. This is somewhat informal. Yes,
My
go
name
ahead.
is
Just
Scott.
give lot number just for help.
All right, my name is Scott Humphreys. I am the owner of lots 42 and 41. A question I would have for you is, as part of at what point in the process would you assess any other major tiles that are connected into the Evans tile? And I'm not sure if the county is fully aware from the map, if they're fully aware of all major tiles that tie in. And it's just a question.
Go ahead.
Two ways to answer that question. I'm not sure exactly which answer Mr. Humphreys is looking for or asking. As part of survey and engineering design, we evaluate all flows that would come into the project and account for them. As far as if the question is considering other tiles in the watershed for improvement, that would only be done if additional landowners request that via the amendment process. So the improvement will only be designed to create a good and sufficient outlet for those properties that have requested it. If there are additional properties that would like to see improvements designed to their property, they would need to amend the petition.
And they have time to do that.
They have 21 days from today to do that.
Thank you.
Just as a redirect on that, the question is not so much a petition, it's would they be aware of the flows so that in the design work, it would account for that flow?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Again, anyone else who wants to point out something that they think would be helpful as the commissioners prepare for that first hearing? Yes.
Hi, I'm not on, I'm right off the edge of the map, but I have the Rocky Fork Creek in my backyard. So what, I assume part of this project is to assess the impact upon the creek itself, on the people that are a little downstream? Because this is going to drain into the creek, correct? This water flow?
This project is not proposing to increase or change the watershed. All water that currently flows to that outlet point will continue to flow to that outlet point. The project will not create additional flows or additional amounts of water
Just get it
that
there
flow
in a more
downstream.
efficient manner.
Correct. The drainage project or drainage projects like this are more to address that chronic water that stands in a watershed. I think the pictures that you were shown, that water that stands and doesn't flow. When it rains 3 to 4 inches in a short amount of time, that peak flow is leaving this watershed now. It has always left this watershed. It will continue to leave this watershed with or without a drainage project to improve the efficiency of those low flows, which is what the petition process is intended to handle.
Thank you, Brett.
Okay, so it will speed up the water flow, which will cause possibly more erosion on the creek sides? We have that for sure somewhere, right? In writing, that's not going to happen?
Again, these are things to consider in engineering. This is not what this hearing's intended to, what the purpose of this hearing is. But again, the peak flows are the peak flows. They happen regardless of whether there's a drainage project. The drainage project is there to handle that last 6 inches or last 12 inches, last 18 inches that's ponded in the watershed. It's there to improve the tile flow. It's not going to have those type of impacts.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I'm Tina Humphreys on properties 41 and 42. We built a 12-foot pond in 2007. It filled up over the winter. There's obviously a lot of water. I'm not contesting that. Down south of us, property 24 built a pond in 2015. Also on property 31, is another pond. Has the 55 considered pond for, and also 47 for excess water. We have standing water in places not on our pond, but that gives us a foot buffer. They may find that that's a better solution than trying to rush it off down south.
Thank you. Again, I can't comment. You're just pointing out things that you'd like for us to be aware of. Anyone else? Yes.
I had another question. How are we supposed to be able to decide whether you want this or don't want it when there's no even beginning of a matter of how much it's going to cost? What's it going to raise our taxes? In other words,
This is all goes in stages. We follow the state law. Purpose of today is to make us aware of it.
yeah.
The first hearing, a certain amount of information will be brought to our attention, and then, that's the second hearing down the road, after they do their evaluation. So if you want to add something to that?
I can speak on the process, yes. So at the first hearing in October, we will compile or write a first hearing report, which will include a basic cost estimate based on, I'll say, the 30,000-foot view of a project. The reason that it's general in nature is we do not have the board's authorization to enter properties to do survey and design, to spend time to gather the information necessary to make that detailed cost estimate. The code recognizes that. That's why there are several hearings or stages to these projects. At that first hearing, we will present that preliminary cost estimate. The board will render a decision as to whether to move forward with the project. At that point, if you decide to move forward, we will proceed to that survey and design phase. Once that is complete, we will have the detailed information down to the specific proposed cost for each landowner as to what the project would take to build, and the board will again make a consideration as to whether to move forward.
Hopefully that helps.
Yes.
Before I adjourn, one last time, is there anyone else who would like to point out something to us that they may be helpful? Again, you'll be able to give full testimony on October 28th. You'll be sworn in, and you'll be given that opportunity. So today, just simply to point out things you think will be helpful for us to know. Yes?
Just have a question on this. Lot 5, in this outline, it shows the properties on the south side of Fancher Road. Can you explain how that is affected throughout this whole thing? Because just with what I see on my property, this is going to more affect the people to the north than the people to the south.
Yes, absolutely. It would, obviously, the further upstream you are in the watershed, the more the project is going to have an effect on you. Again, I'll restate, that line is generated automatically. It's not field verified or ground truthed at all. That is something that we would only do should we move past the first hearing.
Okay. Is that helpful? Yes. Okay, one last time, is there anyone else who thinks there's something that would be helpful for us to know? If not, October 28th, you'll be able to give full testimony, and it'll take as long as it takes, and you'll have every opportunity, I promise you. We will listen to the pros and the cons, and one more apparently. Come on up.
It's a question. When you're doing this project, then will it be, I mean, in a commercial project, you have to put in stormwater detention when you upgrade things. Is this considered an upgrade, and is stormwater detention going to be included at some point along the way? I think that might address the lady's question back here.
All these projects are reviewed and approved by the county engineer. Typically, these are not, stormwater retention is an effort at mitigating the impacts of development on downstream properties. This is not what that project is, that's not the goal of this project. It's not the request of the petition. These projects are specifically responsive to the request of the petitioners. So typically, I mean, I'm not going to say no, having never, taken a survey shot or considered engineering designs at this point, but that would not be typical of projects such as these.
Thank you. With that, I thank everyone for being here today. I look forward to seeing each of you who has an interest on October 28th. Commissioner Benton, before I adjourn, do you have anything?
No, it's great to see so many people show up for these. We're usually very lonely here.
Well, we
this
have them
is,
both ways, to be candid. We have the other kind.
No, for the viewings, I mean, the drone
Yeah,
viewings.
well, the viewing, typically we do the viewings out in the field.
Yeah.
But because of the pandemic, we moved to this approach, and this approach seems to work better. In a lot of ways, we can see more
Yeah.
via drone than we could ever see going to one stationary location. So we have found this to be more productive. So with that, if there's no other comment, we are adjourned, and